should now start with the interview, Vasily, and I would like to ask you the first question. How happened all this? How did you lose your hands and your eyesight? What was the reason for that?
It happened nearby my house. Going home, I saw a bag beside the car, and I thought that someone had forgotten that bag. As I opened it, it suddenly detonated in my hands, and something hit my face and chest. It got dark, but I neither fall down nor lost my conscience. I was simply unable to realize what happened to me in that moment. I tried to rub my eyes with my hand, and only then everything became clear to me that I had no hands, no eyes. I think I was dying, and I felt very sleepy and began to fall down. But something started screaming in my head, don't do it, don't sleep, stand up. And I started calling for help. And fortunately a woman heard me and called the ambulance. And I was taken to the hospital. After 3 days of being there, doctors said that they couldn't do anything more for me. And my parents brought me home and treated me as well as they could themselves. And a week later, my parents rented a car and brought me to an eye clinic in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv, and my right eye was safe there, and I could see a little again. But destiny played a mean trick on me again, and before the hand transplantation, I wanted to improve my eyesight. Of course, I knew about the risks of eye surgeries, but I was sure that everything would be fine. And my day of darkness began in year 2006, in 6 years after the explosion. After every eye surgery, I saw less and less, but I kept hoping and saying to myself, don't panic, be patient. But in spite of my hope, a day came, it was before the hand transplantation, when the night fell permanently.
Vasily, we know you're a very optimistic guy. You're really telling us this in a very optimistic way, and that's something you're really brave about. I would like to know what was the accident. Of course, changed your life completely. Mm-hmm. That's obvious. It was a dramatic incision in your life. What was the most frightening for you after you realized what happened? What was the most frightening problem for you?
The most frightening thing was that strong, healthy boy suddenly became a disabled person, and I didn't know how to live with burned face, without hands, with very poor eyesight. And I sat alone at home. I didn't want to see anybody, and I was in despair. And that was a stroke not only for me, but also for my parents.
Well, you stand full in life. You have been at the university. You studied information technology.
Yeah, IT.
Yes.
I had a sweetheart, a lot of friends. Before I played football, I read books. I was a very happy young man. I wish I had understood it then. But
Vasily, how? Of course, you know, it's not a standard procedure, hand transplantation. I'm not sure if everybody here in the auditorium knows that there is a chance that we can do it. How did you get the idea that hand transplantation may be a help for you?
Neither I nor my parents knew anything about limb transplantation. It was very few information about it then, but we could only suppose that surgeries of such type were possible. And as my sister incidentally found an article about hand transplantation in French. A Frenchman, Denis Atelier, were received to donor hands. I have this article till now. My parents were not sure. Should they tell me about it or not? They were afraid of giving me empty hopes. But they did. And it gave me strength to fight for my life. And it was a very important moment for me. And sometimes it seems to me that if I hadn't had that hope, I wouldn't have survived those days. But it took 5 long years before we received a positive reply from the University Clinic of Innsbruck.
Well, finally you contacted the clinic in Innsbruck, and you were examined there, and you were accepted for listing on the hand transplant program. How did your life change after you have been accepted and you waited for the hand transplantation? What was going on at this time?
Before I got accepted to the hand transplantation, I said to myself, Vasily, you must change your life. And after getting the positive reply from the clinic, I began to prepare myself for the surgery. I went on a diet, I did sports, I learned German. I was very afraid of not being suitable for the surgery.
His German is excellent.
And in July 2005, my sister Anne came to Innsbruck. I passed all medical checkups successfully and was put on the waiting list. And after that, I stopped hiding from people, as I did after the explosion. I went to university again. Now I learn languages. And I became more confident. With the time I got married, and now I have a little daughter.
Well, Vasily, the first day after surgery, of course, the phone rang. We told you we have an organ now. Of course, it's an uproar for you. But the first day after surgery, what was your first thought?
Frankly speaking, I can't remember very well the day, but I can remember my first conversation with my sister. I asked her, Ellen, please describe the hands for me, please. How do they look like? And she said, my God, they are so tender, but they fit you perfectly.
Very nice. After, of course, we know with a head transplantation you have a hard time afterwards. The work for you, the exercising, starts after the transplantation. Could you just describe the time after you have been released from the hospital? What was your daily routine? What was going on that you trained your hands? How did you do that?
I did the therapy for 3 years. We started at 8 a.m. and finished it at 7:45 p.m. I had only a short pause for breakfast and for a walk, and I started this therapy still in transplant division, and 4 therapists worked with me, and we had a very difficult problem with my eyesight, and I had to imagine, to draw a picture in my head how to move a finger, and only then to carry out the movement. And I learned how to dress, how to eat, and many other things I took for granted and paid no attention at all before the exposure. But now I learned to value these things, and I'm happy that I can do a lot of things again.
Are you happy with your hands?
Yes, I am. I can't say that I am able to do everything, but a lot of things. And the most important thing for me, and I think for every one of us, that they can feel again. And I can feel snow, rain, wind, and a warmth of human. It is very important for everyone.
The most impressive in the interview is now how you're acting with your hands. I know you're nervous, you told me before, but I see it with your hands, how you're doing, and you have a slight tremor. It's really impressive how you're working with your hands and how this is really fitting. You know?
No, I brought some subjects to show.
Yeah, just show us how.
Yeah.
What, for example, I think it's very impressive what you can do with your head. Before we come to this point, what are actually the medical problems? What was the most serious medical problem for you with the hands?
No, skin rejection.
Skin rejection.
Yes, but now we are on the right way, I think, and soon we will find a solution for solving this problem. When so many people, clever people, work together to find to solve the problem, they will find a solution, I'm sure.
Wesley, could you just show us one or two things what you really can do with your hands now?
No, I brought my sister. I brought my dumbbells. I brought my dumbbells. I do sports. They are made of wooden.
Yes.
If you want.
Lightweight.
Yeah.
Great. But you can do. Oh yes.
I brought I can shave myself. I did it already today. I think it is very important for every man. Yeah.
Yes, it's important. What's one of the human rights, you know?
Yeah. Before the surgery, my parents and my sister did it for me.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I was surprised they want to cut my throat. I brought my cane. I do it very seldom, but.
Well, you have a similar cut as I have, you know, it's not that much of a problem. Well, Vasily,
Yeah.
you're the first time in Paris.
Yeah.
And now you don't have our eyesight as well. How did you get an impression of the city now?
You know, I heard a lot about Paris, and now my sister takes photographs, a lot of photographs, and I'm sure that one day we will sit together and look at those pictures and remember these unforgettable moments of our life. And I was already at Eiffel Tower, Napoleon Bonaparte grave. It was close, unfortunately. But no, it is very fine for me.
Vasily, thanks from my side. You have the chance now to ask him questions. Maybe somebody wants to touch his hands and see if he has sensitivity in the hands. Is somebody there?
It was one of our exercise by therapy.
Yes. So he is used to that.
Therapist touch my
You want to do?
index finger, ring finger, some little.
Yeah, very good.
So it's very impressive. If you have a handshake with him, you really feel the power in his hands, and that's one of the miraculous things I think in transplantation, that sensitivity came back and you really can use the hands. Vasily, thanks a lot. It was very impressive to have you here. I think people learned a lot. Well, good trip home then.